Nigeria's creative economy, rooted in its vibrant arts, culture, and music, holds immense potential for job creation, national branding, and global influence. Yet, challenges such as weak infrastructure, limited investments, and inadequate policy support continue to hold the sector back. What will it take to unlock the full economic value of Nigeria's creative industries? And how can cultural policy and public-private collaboration drive sustainable growth in the sector?
Nigeria's creative economy is the second largest employer of labor, employing about 4.2 million Nigerians across various sectors, including media, entertainment, tourism, and hospitality. It is also the second largest contributor to Nigeria's gross domestic product, GDP. My name is Sheriff Aderibigbe.
And I'm Francis Jacko.
And we'll be your host on today's episode of Policy in Focus on NESG TV. We'll be discussing Nigeria's arts, culture, and creative economy sectors on today's episode of NESG TV. We have with us here the Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, Mr. Obi Asika. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I hope I'm in good hands.
So, you've been in entertainment, creative, the creative sector for ages. As a matter of fact, you are one of the critical founders. We can say you are one of the critical founders of Afrobeats.
Definitely.
The whole Afrobeats movement.
Guilty as charged.
Yes. so, sir, you, really now, I know to an extent, taking up the role of the DG of the National Council of Arts and Culture is also probably a step in the right direction in terms of trying to, bridge a gap between the private and public sector. So at this moment, since you took over in 2024, I believe.
Yes.
What are the initiatives that the NCAC has taken, under your administration to foster growth and global competitiveness of Nigeria's arts and culture sector?
Well, thanks a lot. First of all, just to say a couple of things. It's good to be here finally. We've been talking about doing this for a few months, and to thank your CEO for letting us do this. I think it's always important to have these conversations, especially because NESG is about the core economy. And a lot of times people dismiss this sector as if it's the byproduct. It's entertainment, it's the parties, the after party. Those things are nice, but we're talking about the business of the sector. And the sector really is about 49 subsectors. And when you map it properly, from fashion, architecture, software, visual arts, performing arts, which is dance, theater, you understand, film, music, television, so it is enormous, right? And the breadth of it means that what has really happened over the years is that the sector has been self-propelling, has been growing by itself without perhaps focused government support. But we have to commend this president, you have to commend this government, because for the first time they created a standalone ministry, a converged ministry, so it's the Federal Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy. And this brings together the whole value chain. The key things, when we came on board, we were appointed in January, I believe, but actually began in March, right? So I've been there about 15 months, maybe 14 months, just over a year. It feels like a couple of days, but it's a heavy lift. Because the first thing you're countered with is big institutions, which are not necessarily nimble. So you're trying to become agile as an institution. It's a big institution. I have over 1,000 people in my council. Our mandate is the entire sector. So if you look at all the other agencies in the sector, there are about 8 of them. Everything they have in their mandates I have in mind, because we're the convening agency for the sector. At the same time, we really looked at, the minister came with a very strong 8-point plan for the sector, which all the agencies aligned to in terms of roadmap. So create our own individual roadmaps to align to the overall ministerial 8-point plan, which is aligned to the presidential plan. And we've been following that roadmap. Now, the key issue is this. So we had policy. I say policy, platforms, and projects. That's a good way to look at it from where I'm sitting. So we're not done with policy, but we're done with our roadmap, right? Our roadmap was agreed. It's pushed. We're on the roadmap. We're on the pathway to where we want to be. But of course, you need resources on our side for the public, because the public sector institutions had been defunded, dilapidated, run down, and you could even say demoralized. So, the issue is you need to reinvigorate those places. So you need capital allocations to get that done. You also need to retrain and upskill the people in the system, because if they're going to go and activate an ecosystem, they need to know what they're doing. And they've been disconnected from the ecosystem because of the way people have been approaching it. But I think part of what we've done in the past year certainly brought ourselves much closer to the leaders and the operators across all the various sectors, the guilds, the big players, the financial sector, the non-governmental people, the development agencies, and of course the subnationals. Because I believe that even though, yes, we're sitting here at federal agencies, but the subnationals is where Nigeria is. And the real opportunity of Nigeria is actually within the subnationals. Because every single state in Nigeria has assets, whether it be cultural assets, heritage sites, destinations and attractions, that can, every single state in Nigeria could easily do $1 billion a year. And that's the simple truth. And if you take it from that premise, then you begin to understand what is possible. You talked about the size of the ecosystem. I'm happy you started from there, because we believe clearly that we can get to the $100 billion. But as you know, to get to $100 billion, you need to invest. So what we're really doing, I think the work we've been doing, is been a lot of advocacy. The advocacy to the National Assembly, to the financial powers that be, to the budget office, to the executive, that listen, please, we need resources to be able to enable us to achieve these targets. Don't give me a target and then don't give me resources, because then you're tying my hand behind my back and you're going to come back and ask me, what did I do? And I'm going to be like, what did you give us, right? But, you know, I come from the private sector. So we're looking at how can we be nimble. The first key thing for us, I think, is almost back to front, in the sense that having done all our plans and our platforms and looking at, okay, this is the strategy, I said, okay, fine. Perhaps the key thing we actually need to do is legal reform. And legal reform means that institutions can be future-proofed, because as they are right now, the NCAC, the council, is 50 years this year. And, you know, we're hoping to celebrate that in the last quarter of the year, have a big event. And celebrating the council, we're really celebrating the culture. You know, really celebrating the leaders. Because, you know, one of the things about Nigeria, and one of the things we've done with the NCACs, we're turning NCAC into a storytelling organization. Because I think the biggest issue we have is we don't tell our stories. I mean, if you don't tell your stories, they don't get valued. If you don't get valued, you don't get investment. So this thing is actually all totally connected. And there's a lot of metaphors that I normally use to talk about this. Maybe I shouldn't repeat them here, but definitely, I think for us, we've built a way to engage. We're very, very happy in the sense that where we're sitting now today, I think, even today as I arrived here, I just shared in a couple of groups, after many months of work driven from the Minister's Office and the NFC, Nigeria has signed 2 big agreements today with Brazil. The audiovisual agreement, which covers film co-production, and the tourist agreement. Now, these things are things that are sort of things that have been hanging for many years. The cultural policy of Nigeria is 2008. It will be done this year. The creative economy policy is brand new. It will be done this year. So there's a lot of things happening, but you know how it is. People think that because you're in government that your job is to give money. I'm like, no, we're looking for money. We're looking for money. So we're not here to give money. We're still looking for resources, but we've already created money. The Creative Economy Development Fund, which is coming from us, seeded with $200 million from Afrexim Bank, which is really single-digit interest rates, and it's for mature businesses. It's not for, if you're a startup and you don't have credibility or you haven't had any traction, you're not going to be able to get funds. But if you're a built enterprise, be going 3 to 5 years, you've got numbers, please bring your business to the CEDF, because it's set up for you. Hotels, lounges, bars, galleries, museums, production companies, post-production services, live entertainment, live production. So it's, you know, fashion houses. It's a whole range of stuff. And we're seeing a lot of different ecosystems emerge, which I think is the key thing. For me, the digital economy is absolutely critical to the creative economy, because everything we need to do that we want to scale is going to happen through digital and mobile. We're not necessarily going to build brick and mortar everywhere, because in Nigeria, it's a big country. The average age is 18. So we want to meet people where they are already, which is on their phone.
Exactly. All right, thank you. I'll just pick up from the legal framework thing we talked about, because we're actually on policy in focus on NESG TV.
Yeah,
So we try to analyze how policies, actually affect, the execution of certain things from the government and the private side. So you talked about a review of the policy of the the culture policy and the creating of a creative economy policy framework. So can you please shed more light on that?
Well, both of these things are being done in collaboration with the NESG. which is a core, when it comes to policy, NASG has gained a reputation for public-private partnership and leadership in this space. And we really feel that working with them, we're almost at the end game. So the culture policy, they reviewed it. We looked at the extant policy, the draft policy, reviewed it, had an expert committee, a number of meetings last year. I was involved in that. And now they're probably in the final stages of drafting the final thing to present to FEC. The same thing with the creative economy policy. And the good thing about this is that in the ecosystem of those involved, you have academia, you have regulatory people, you have business people, you have practitioners, you have lawyers. So you have a good sort of range of people. And we also now have innovators and technology people, because everything you're doing now, you must look at the technology, augmented reality, virtual reality, Web 3.0, AI, all of these things are going to change everything that everybody's doing today, and you must be future-proofing what you're doing. So I think even for us, in terms of legal reform in the council itself, we look at enacting establishment law and the things we want to do, because we're bringing the creator economy into our remit, because we look at it and we think it's massive. But we also want to make sure there's a bit of a protection as well. I'm not a big fan of regulating creativity. I don't think that's the job. I think the job is to enable, create funnels, and create certainty so that investment can follow. Because when there's certainty and you can see the clear line of sight, and then you can explain to the investor, the private equity, the venture capital, mom and dad, whoever the investor happens to be, this is the clear line on how you can invest, where you can invest, how you can extract value, and how you can get returns. I think when people understand that process, that this is how a film makes money, this is how television makes money, this is how football monetizes. Because people are fans of all these things, but does not mean they understand the business of it. And even if you're a practitioner, there's nothing that says because you're a great film director, you should be a great film businessman. And I think people have to learn that and separate the roles, understand that business management is business management. And it could be business management just for your commercial rights, your image rights. All these different elements is where the money valuation, the money and the value comes from. But if you don't have the IP right, if you don't have to tell the story right, you actually have nothing to sell. So it's hand in hand.
So it's great that you've mentioned storytelling.
Yeah.
Now, for the benefit of our viewers, what really is the Nigerian culture we're trying to sell? Because I mean, there's the throwback culture, and there's the new culture involving kidnapping, ritual killing, and all of that, which often seems to be the spin that we get from majority of our content creators.
I don't think those things are culture. Mm-hmm. Those things are just negative things happening in society.
Yeah.
So in terms of Nigerian culture is deep, it's ancient, one of the oldest cultures on the planet. So if you think about the fact that, I'll just give you a couple of things to think about when you think about Nigeria and Nigerian culture. Ledger, which is a place you may not have heard of. Ledger is next to Nsukka, is a small village there. In Ledger and in Nsukka, if you get there, you're going to see, on the surface, you'll see iron ore. It's 2,500 years old. That's the first place on planet Earth that man controlled iron. It's here in Nigeria. If you look at the Dufuna Kano, which is still there, 7,000 years old, right? Yes. Nok culture, 7,000 years. Igbo Ukwu is 5,000 years. This is 2,500 years before Christ. So you have to understand that we're not only ancient, we're also technologically advanced, because all of those cultures involve fabrication, mathematics, science, physics, right? But we don't tell the story in that way. And if you don't tell the story in that way, then you do not realize or understand that the African built the pyramids. It wasn't a span from space. So the Egyptian culture is what Greece and Rome is built on. And Greece and Rome is what Western culture is built on. But of course, for the West, they try to put everything in their perspective, in their image, which is what the conqueror does. That's why it's called his story, right? So we have to learn how to tell our story, control our narrative, and understand the value in it. I always talk about Shango and Thor. And people say to me, no, it's just packaging. I said, no, it's $50 billion. Shango's broke right now outside Oyo. Thor's $50 billion. What is the problem? You have lost the ability to reimagine your mythology. Our mythology is richer than any mythology on earth. What is a mermaid and Mami Water? What's the difference? Yeah, but you see, the point is, if you don't elevate your culture, if you don't storyfy it, if you don't make these people into heroes, you cannot complain when people trample on you. So I think one of the first things is for everybody to learn how to tell stories. And to tell stories that empower themselves, empower their communities, empower their people. And when you begin to tell these stories, you will find out that everybody's basically the same. All Nigerians have 98.5% the same DNA. Doesn't matter whether it's north, east, south, or west. But we allow other things to cloud that, and we think we're different. We're actually not that different. You know, if you get into the actual traditional stuff, I was having a conversation with some people, you know, from the East, and they were talking about, which I know, of course, I grew up there. The python is a sacred animal in a lot of communities in the Southeast. My friend was sitting there, Abdul from Kano, he said, actually, in Borno and in southern Zaria, it's exactly the same thing. I was like, okay, guess what? So we're connected in many more ways than we know. And I think what stories help us to do is to reimagine these things. So we have a big belief in digital platforms. One of the things we're bringing is a platform called Origins. So Origins is about all of us. Coming from the premise that if you're 1 in 5 Africans is Nigerian, 1 in 8 black people anywhere in the world is of Nigerian descent, let's bring our people together. And Origins is there to bring you together, both to know where you're from, who you're about, what you're about. Imagine it like a social history platform, right? User-generated mainly, but of course, governments, corporations, individuals have their own accounts, build their own connections, build their own value, and monetize from their content. But the most important thing is agency. You need to have agency, you need to have narrative control. We're sitting here in 2025, and a lot of black kids still don't know the role of black people in history, in this world. And if we don't project it and tell it, who's going to do it for you? There's nobody left. It's only Nigeria is one of the few places in the world that can lead this. And it's the same way that Nigeria led in South Africa, led of the 54 African nations, maybe 38, Nigeria directly caused their independence to happen. But even our people don't know. So where the movies, I argue with Nollywood every day about this. Where the biopics? Are you telling me all the millions of Nigerians that have lived, we've made no biopics? It's crazy.
But do you see a hang-up with the content creators now, because they own their platforms, they tell their own story? Do you think this aligning with the...
Well, the content creators are the ones actually who are telling those stories. Because if you go to TikTok, any of these things, you will always see them, because as they discover the story, they will tell it. And you know, one of the things is about understanding how to tell a story. So if you project, if you tell Fela's story from the perspective that he'll be 90-something this year, you're not telling the right story. You've got to be telling the story of Fela at 26, at 27, Rex Lawson at 19, Sunny Ade at 24. I mean, if you've ever seen, there's a video clip after Bob Marley died, right? You know, the Island Records where he was signed, they were looking for who's the next guy. The next guy they found was King Sunny Ade. They were like, man, we're going to put all our resources behind this guy and, you know, want him to be like Bob Marley worldwide. And there's a video. I mean, you know, King Sunny Ade, KSA is a G. Let me just tell you. There's a video, 1980 or 1981. He's coming out of the airport in London and they're interviewing him.
No kidding.
Wait, no. They're interviewing him. He's in his Rolls Royce, 1981 in London. And they interviewed him. They're asking him about what does he think, and he's like, I'm not stressed. You know, whatever Island do or don't do, I'm making money, and that's the truth. Sunny Ade has been making millions of dollars for 40 years. Everybody knows, but you may not understand how he's doing it. But that's the facts. Labaja made so much money. It's a fact. Kid Kwamwan, are you kidding me? Come on, you understand? But he's not on the pop charts.
That's right.
But in the charts that he's living on, he dominates it. So you got to understand, not everybody needs to be doing the same thing. And even now, when you say Afrobeats is massive, right? So the first 10 African artists to do 1 billion views on their YouTube channel, 7 are Nigerian. They're all Afrobeats artists except one guy. His name is Flavor. So Flavor doing High Life, he's doing 1 billion views on his own channel. That's original content. I'm not talking about the stuff that's on other people's channel, because if it's there, it's like 3-4 billion. So the point is that when you see excellence matched with passion and delivery, you get results. And Nigerian content is sticky. You know, it's sticky. And that's the great, if you're a content producer, you know, you want your content to be sticky because it means people keep coming back to it. So the biggest storytellers on TikTok, on Instagram, even if you look at YouTube globally, and look at Mr. Beast and all those guys, do you know that some of the biggest creators on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok are Nigerian? Yeah. Not Nigerians here. I'm not talking about the Nigerians here. I'm talking our boys in the States, our boys in the UK. They're doing massive numbers. And the point about it is we have natural storytellers. And a storyteller, you know, it's many different things. In the old days, you think it's a guy sitting under the tree with a book, right? But a storyteller today, and a painter is a storyteller. A rapper is a storyteller. A singer is a storyteller. The author. But it all starts with the story. And, I could tell a story and it could be dry as hell. All of us will go home and sleep. But there's a different way you tell the same story and you can't wait for, oh man, what's happening next? And that ability is the ability that separates people from no office to box office. That's the key.
I would think I could.
The quotables, man.
Okay, sir, let's look at it from the perspective of intellectual property rights.
Yes.
You mentioned King Sunny Ade, maybe the old artists like Oliver the Coke, King Sunny Ade, or the old guys. Maybe the Osita Osadebe, exactly. So maybe they were protected,
I'm not sure how protected they were.
26.
No, maybe at the time, because we had maybe record labels like EMI and the rest in Nigeria, maybe they didn't invest. Wow.
That's the whole problem.
Okay.
The problem is the record labels of that era operated like the oil companies of today. The rentier businesses that did not invest in real assets on ground. They fly to London, record the album, come here, and just push it out. Sell or no sell, they're not too bothered because they're making their money somewhere else. So they didn't really invest. They didn't really leave any infrastructure on the ground. But you still have legacy labels like Premier Records. Premier has 150,000 tracks in its catalog. In any other market, Premier should be $1 billion asset just based on catalog. So if you look at the music publishing industry worldwide, you see people doing deals on catalog every day. $1 billion. Cobalt is buying assets. So as we build our ecosystem more and more, it might have taken them 30 years, take another 10 years, it will be $1 billion asset because our market is getting more developed, right? Now, in terms of IP, that's one of the many things you have to commend the minister for.
Sure.
Since she came in last year, she's constituted an interministerial committee on IP and the creative economy. And that committee, we have the Ministry of Digital Economy, Trade and Investment, and Finance, and our ministry. This is all part of our agenda to make sure that people understand this is a business sector. Don't call us for the party. Yes, we can provide entertainment, definitely, but it's about the business of it, right? So, because typically before, many of the funds you have seen and activities out there, they say there's a loan available. Why do they call you to take the loan and look at the terms? Maybe they say you should bring your grandmother. And I'm like, but nobody's bringing their grandmother because I cannot even bring her.
Not a chance.
She's gone. I can't bring her. There's nothing else to bring, right?
True.
So one of the key things, I think this is massive, and we're just waiting. I believe in the next month or so, it will come out of effect. And once it comes out of effect, then it goes to the bankers committee, and it's basically law. So that people understand this is a business sector. Don't call us for the party. Yes, we can provide entertainment, but it's about the business of it, right? So, because typically before, many of the funds you have seen and activities out there, they say there's a loan available. When they call you to take the loan and you look at the terms, maybe they say you should bring your grandmother as collateral. And I'm like, but nobody's bringing their grandmother because I cannot even bring her. She's gone. She's gone. I can't bring her. So there's nothing else to bring, right? So one of the key things, and I think this is massive, and we're just waiting, I believe in the next month or so, it will come out of effect. And once it comes out of effect, then it goes to the bankers committee, and it's basically law. So what is happening? There's a collaborative effort across these 4 or 5 ministries, is that IP as collateral is now coming. Which basically means if you have valuable IP, so it doesn't mean if you're a Mecca on the street and you've never made anything, don't believe that your IP has value yet. But if you're the children of Fulana Waba, if you're Chinua Achebe, if you're Chimamanda, if you're D'banj, if you're somebody whose catalog has already shown to be commercial value, you can bring that, look at whatever the project is you're doing, and it can be held as collateral to enable you to do the next thing. You have to understand, and this is important for this conversation, that the 4th or 3rd biggest economy in the world is California. What is California built on? Built on agriculture, yes, 1. The wine industry, yes, 2. But the real 1 and 2 is innovation, and it's Silicon Valley and Hollywood. And the connecting link is IP. If you cannot monetize the intellectual property, you cannot have that $100 trillion that Silicon Valley has created. And so what we're saying is that this IP policy is going to enable startups, it's going to enable founders, going to enable creatives and creators, because now that thing that you're doing, that story that you're telling, that pattern you're weaving, that fashion you're cutting, is going to be able to be registered as collateral, as commercial tender value that you can now use in the retail bank, not just in private equity or venture capital, and get funding at good rates. And I think that is one of the big things that can help to unlock this economy. Because in reality, we all know, particularly Asia, LPO financing cannot drive this sector, right? 90-day money cannot unlock creativity. It can't make a film. You can't make a music video. You can't even make a project because you need a cycle of time to return and recoup the investment. So I think the IP piece is a massive piece. I'm excited about it. I've been involved in that committee, and I can tell you that it's at the final stages, and God willing, it will be live in the next quarter or so. And once it's live, then I think that again gives certainty to investors. Because the actual truth of the matter, even though, yes, of course, the Nigerian government has made efforts and done things, the biggest investors into Nigerian IP are not Nigerian. It has been MultiChoice, Africa Magic, Sony Music, like that, Netflix later in the day, and it's not really that much. I mean, the amount Netflix put in 5 years is what MultiChoice has been doing every single year for 25 years. But, we take it for granted, right? But the truth of the matter is that is how we've built, because you need infrastructure to build. That infrastructure is either physical or soft. And the physical infrastructure in this industry is television distribution, mobile distribution. Those are the rails. But without the content, there's nothing, what are you going to watch on TV? If the Nollywood guys don't make that content, there's nothing for you to watch, right? Right now, I complain about this all the time, but I stopped complaining because I think we should try and solve the problem. The average age of Nigeria is 18. Maybe 50 million Nigerians are under 10. Yeah? That's a massive market. There's no children's content in Nigeria for Nigerian children.
You're right. It's not like before when you had Kiddie Vision 101 and all those other,
But it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all Ben 10, Spider-Man.
Foreign.
There's nothing wrong with the foreign stuff, but we need some of our own.
A lot of the times we don't even have good child actors. It's something I've made.
Well, I mean, there's no opportunity for them. So, I think we have an ageism issue in our society. We're not activating the young people. But I'm delighted to tell you, NCAC has some incredible new management. We're collaborating deeply with them. And I can tell you that next quarter, Tales by Moonlight is coming back. Yeah, it is coming back, and we're involved in doing it at our arts village here in Abuja. I'm excited because storytelling is storytelling.
Yes.
You can do it with a mobile phone, you can do it just from the mouth, you can do it from stage, but as long as you know how to connect, you can tell the story.
That's really wonderful.
Awesome. We look forward to that.
Sir, you really talked about the good parts, like intellectual property rights and all the rest. But now we're looking at how we can unlock investments. You made mention of how much MultiChoice has invested. For Netflix, there was a thing from the grapevine about creatives, using the money inappropriately. So, but
I don't know about creators, but
yes,
a couple of executives,
a couple of them, a couple of them actually. But the thing now is, how do we attract and sustain these investments?
Well, the first thing is that you see, and this is the beautiful thing, all right? Yes, I happen to be sitting in government today, but I'm close enough to tell you that the sector attracts everything.
Okay.
Our Nigeria's soft power is global, and it's globalizing, and there's nothing that can be done to stop it, right? Because the music, the content does not need a visa. We don't need any permission. The guys who are telling the stories are doing their thing. They don't wake up in the morning and say, I have to call Obi before I do my thing. No, they're doing it, right? So the first thing for us is to recognize that, celebrate that, and support that. That's the first thing. So it's growing. It's going at a speed of knots. And if you're not checking, you should know Nigerian food is also globalizing. Swallow is globalizing. People are trying to get into egusi. Jollof wars are done. I tell people all the time, there's nothing to talk about. I mean, the Ghana boys, they're my people, but I tell them that there's a secret that they've not been explained to them. No, you know what the secret is? It's party jollof. Yeah. That's the secret. It's not, exactly. It's not this thing, if it's just regular jollof. But party jollof, once you pull out that Nigeria party jollof, it's a wrap. So the issue about it, all this banter, all this stuff is just to tell you that the attention and the connection that Nigerian content is creating is enormous. I'll give you an indication. Nigerian musicians are loading something like 1,500 songs a day, every day of the year. That's 500,000 songs in a year on DSPs, right? The content creators are doing almost 2,000 videos a day. across Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, everything that count, Patreon, the ones that we're not even checking, right? So when you're doing this kind of stuff, right, what really begins to happen is, hey, how do you find you? Discovery is a big issue. So from NCAC, we have some key platforms we're driving, and we're just looking for our resources now to drive. Discover Niger. You will soon be hearing about that. If you're a creator in this country, expect it, because Discover Niger is for the creators. So create funnels on every single platform. You use the hashtag Discover Niger so you're visible and searchable. And once you do that, then we can begin to get you monetized, right? And we have QA, the same way you have playlists. We have Discover Niger. So I've got Alibaba on board. We got, we have the big creators on board, because they can create the guys coming up and mentor them. Because guess what? Emanuela, sitting in Port Harcourt, Mark Angel. I told somebody, it's a fact. Talk about disruption. Those creators in Nigeria who shoot on the streets, have never been in a studio, never seen a green room, never seen lighting, never seen audio, but they're shooting on the streets. And Mark Angel has been doing $8 to $10 million a year as the number one YouTube creator in Africa since 2016 every year. So if you count it to now, it's 9 years. Say it's almost $100 million. $100 million. What's the production budget? 5 people, 4 people, 3 people. No studio cost, no overhead cost. So it's 90% profit. Do you understand? And they're sitting in Port Harcourt. You know the cost in Port Harcourt are not the cost in Abuja or the cost in Lagos. And this is just an element of what is happening. I'm sure everybody saw the viral videos about how our creators are making money monthly. Some $300,000 a month, $200,000 a month. I'm like, yes, they're making those numbers. Just look at the output, look at the consistency, look at the way people are engaging it, and you'll know it's true. So for us, we have to, it's like when you say, you follow the trends, right? So the same way for us. We follow the trend, and we try to create solutions that come to the natural space of what the creator is doing. Not to go and create something that they're not even going to come and check it. So we have a hub strategy called ICE, which is Innovation, Creativity, and Entrepreneurship. So all our offices, we've turned them to creative hubs. And what we're trying to do is put equipment and facilities into those offices and then open up to the public as co-working spaces. So it's not going to be just sitting in one government office. No, your creator, come into our place, make your content, push it out, use the marketing, use the funnels. All we want to do is push it out on our funnels. Once we push it out on the funnels, then, of course, it's all about dimension. So if you put out 1,000 pieces, maybe out of 1,000 pieces, 10% are going to monetize at a level to pay for the other 900, or the other 90%. That's pretty much how it goes. And therefore, you begin to grow the ecosystem and grow the people in an intentional manner. It's the same thing we're trying to do with upskilling them and in terms of capacity building. Because what we see is that a lot of the people who play in this sector, they don't necessarily have formal training. There's intuition, there's natural talent. But when you add formal training as a layer, you up the product level, you up their ability to earn, and you up your ecosystem's ability to deal. So that is where we're going in terms of capacity building, in terms of reach, and in terms of scale. Sure. So I'm trying to mix between physical and digital. There's something called the Creative Leap Accelerator Program, clapnigeria.ng. That's where the master classes are. That's at the digital level. You can engage with the platform, you can get on board, and you can begin to pick up some skills and some knowledge. There's also the CEDF, the Creative Economy Development Fund. I mentioned it earlier. And basically, the biggest issue probably is we haven't had enough money to advertise the stuff enough. Do you understand? So it's like, I'm sitting there, I know I've sent CEDF to at least 400 people personally. To a lot of big players. Like, oh, is this happening? I say, yeah, you didn't know? Please go and read it, digest it, make sure you apply for something. Don't be one of these people that say after the fact, you say, I didn't know. Or they didn't tell me. No, engage it. It's not for anybody's brother or sister, it's for everybody. And if you have interest in the sector, then understand that it's an economic sector. And that's the message I would like to leave here today. It's an economic sector. If you don't understand how it's an economic sector, then ask somebody, ask a lawyer, ask an auditor, ask somebody you trust, somebody you know to break it down for you. If not, find me, I'll tell you.
Now, you've even answered the next question. All the initiatives you have. So I'm just going to touch on something. Since you're mentioning culture, is there a way to Because I mentioned that we're going to discuss Storm 360 and the rest. But these old people, these OGs, that they have the culture to pass on. Is there a way to sustain them, so to speak, so that they can pass on that culture?
Well, I think one of the things is it sustain them or just to engage them?
Okay.
Right? So our Origins platform, for example, if you sit with 3 Nigerians and the 3 of them say they're from Lagos, and you ask the 3 of them to tell you about Lagos, you're going to hear 3 different stories, 3 different perspectives. You might not even feel like it's the same place they're talking about.
Some say it's smelly anyway.
Yeah, of course. Some will say it's terrible. Some will say, I cannot live without Lagos, right? Like some of my friends in Abuja, they say, who gave you visa to come to Abuja? Because you Lagos people, all those kind of things. But you see, by the end of the day, but everybody also knows Lagos has this energy that is unstoppable.
A lot.
Right? It's unstoppable. Lagos nightlife is unstoppable. Dirty December is a real thing, right? It's an economic... It's a powerhouse, right? And I think what it is how can you capture that energy, that swag, that thing Nigerians are carrying worldwide as if it's nothing? It's worth trillions of dollars. That's what it is. And it's how to capture that essence of the Niger. That's what I focus on. Because if you capture that essence, we're all going to be fine. There's many different ways to make sure that you pass along things. And I think one of the best ways, and I tell people this is just a personal message to anybody, if you're lucky and your parents are still alive in this age, you have a mobile phone, sit down with your father and your mother and let them tell you their life story. You think you know, but let me trust you, you don't know. It's only when they are gone you will realize you don't know. But if you do that, what you have done is you have preserved your family history, not just for yourself, but for your children. Because your children in the future are going to watch that stuff. I said, okay, that's who granddad was. That's what grandmom was, right? And I'm telling you that alone, that singular thing alone, will empower and unlock so much value that you don't even know. So the way to do these things is to tell the stories. And to tell the stories is simply starting off with, when were you born? When and where were you born? If you sit King Sunny Ade down and ask him when and where were you born, and track the story of his life from then till now, I'm telling you, 3 years ago, I was privileged to be inducted into an Afrobeats Hall of Fame. And the night they were inducting me, they inducted King Sunny Ade. I found it embarrassing. I said, I'm telling you, I said to him, King, King, man, when I was 21, you were a legend already. That's 30 years ago. I said, I don't know why they're doing this. I said, maybe they didn't have the institution then. So he was just laughing. And I said, it's about midnight. And we're somewhere in Lekki 1. And I said, it's a Saturday night. And I'm just looking at this man. And he said, he's over 70 now. And I said, so what's happening tonight? He goes, I'm performing in Ikeja. This was at 11:30. I was just looking at the man. But his manager was telling me that the band is there, warming up now. So this man is going to leave us, he's going to go to that place, he's going to perform 5 hours. And he's going to be shaking his body down to the ground. I'm looking at him. You can't try it. You're at your age now. Your knees cannot do it. But he's already there 77. 78. He's playing that guitar 6 hours, 5 hours. You can't try it.
It takes a lot of energy.
Energy, coordination, discipline, fitness. It's a whole bunch of things. Plus he's singing. Plus he's transmitting. With black people, Africans, Nigerians, when we sing, we're transmitting vibrations. It's not just singing. So Sunny Ade is just an African treasure that you cannot... I don't even know how you're really supposed to describe people like that.
It's got to be the word legend, right?
Yeah, legend is an understatement. That's not a legend. That's a whole different thing. There are many legends, but Sunny Ade, listen, man. I've worked with a lot of performing artists, a lot of people in my life, and I've seen them all, international and local. I've never seen anybody perform 6 hours, except him and Fela Kuti. They're the 2 people I can remember. Fela will get on stage in 6 hours, 5 hours. Straight. You'll just look at this thing like, man, 40 minutes, I'm tired and I'm standing. I'm not performing, you're standing, you're tired. So the thing about it is to understand, the key thing is if you recognize talent and understand how to help talent get the best out of themselves, because one thing people don't realize is the talent is not necessarily the business. Every great talent has a great manager. Every incredible artist has somebody behind them crunching the numbers, making sure they're there on time. From Jay-Z to Beyonce, I don't care who it is, there's somebody dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But at the end of the day, It's that talent, it's that storytelling ability, that performing ability that makes everybody come to the table and have that conversation. Because trust me now, as I'm saying all these things, if I'm sitting here and this is Davido, the conversation will be different. The energy will be different. Davido says, let's build 10 stadiums. They say, okay, let's go. If I say, let's build 10 stadiums, they're like, are you sure? Do you get what I'm saying? So that's part of it.
You've also answered the next one, which
Are you serious?
how do we digitize and use streaming devices and everything? So
No.
My next one will just be, and this has been a dream, a vision for so long, like in Nollywood that's like Hollywood, and I know it's part of the plan. Could you just elaborate on that?
Well, I don't know about Nollywood like Hollywood because
Like a place where...
Well, no, you mean a location. I mean,
location.
I think there's so many things happening. I mean, even today, like I mentioned, the minister, the PermSec signed on behalf of Nigeria an audiovisual co-production treaty with Brazil. What basically this means is if you have a co-production partnership with a Brazilian company, you can go to Brazil and produce your film and be treated like a Brazilian company. Get the benefits from there, the credits, the tax relief, everything. And same thing for them here. I think the key thing is that we are investing in facilities. Nigeria needs production lots to enable production, right? I think one of the things people always forget in the ecosystem of content is television. I was blessed to be sitting on the audio measurement committee of the federal government for the last 4 years. And audience measurement is what determines advertising for television. Now, free-to-air television is actually the biggest platform in every country. But in Nigeria, our free-to-air television market has been broken for a long time. So what you see is that in Nigeria, the pay television is bigger than free-to-air, which is the reverse of everywhere else. If we fix free-to-air television, that's how you get 150, 200 million people watching your show, not 7 million people, not 8 million people. And once you get 120, 150 million people audience and the content is right, the advertiser can see that they're watching, then they put their money. So in that regard, that alone, that singular action is supposed to push our free-to-air television advertising market to about $10 billion per annum by 2035. If you see that money, and 75% of that money has to go into local commissioning. So then you will know that Nollywood is then a built industry. Because every year, the commissioning of content is going to be $7 to $10 billion. It's who's going to make the content? Nigerian production companies. That is what Nollywood is. So it's about the ecosystem. I know a lot of the guys talk about film all the time and talk about streaming. That's a narrow view. I'm like, Seinfeld, the TV show? You remember Seinfeld?
Yeah, sure.
You remember Seinfeld, right? Seinfeld has not been on television since 1996. That's when they ended production. They've generated $4 billion in TV licensing since then, the last 29 years. Yes, because the biggest money in television is licensing. Because when you give it to Netflix, they own it, you don't earn any royalties. But when you license it, you earn royalties. So now you license it, you're in 200 television markets. You're getting a royalty check from 200 markets. That's how it adds up. Do you understand? So we need to better educate our producers so they understand the real opportunities that sit there. And not everybody just following the idea of everything's Netflix or Amazon. Those are great platforms, but the model there, it's a buyout. So that's how they work. They're streaming, they buy out, they own it. If you see it making money, that's great, but they've paid you off, right? On television, they don't buy out, they license. And then you get residuals. And the residuals even also can come to the actors as well. So that's how the business works. And of course, film itself, a lot of people here focus on cinema. I'm not sure they should be. I mean, I have my own opinion, but I'm not going to impose it on an industry because we're in a public position. But I feel like you will see in the next 5 years, I believe, many creators will be making more money than filmmakers, okay? Because the digital platforms will monetize faster. The second thing to watch out for is esports. Video gaming is becoming massive. I work with a lot of leaders in that ecosystem. There's over 250,000 literally professional gamers in Nigeria. They're having massive tournaments. You walk into their tournaments and events, it's like a carnival. They've got music going on here. They've got the esports here. It's all together. And they do the cosplay as well. And I'm like, watching people walking around like Captain Marvel or whoever, and it's amazing to see, but it's real and it's happening.
It's true. Okay, I would love to ask this. There are a couple of agencies under the ministry, Federal Ministry of Culture, Creative Economy, and the rest. So, how much collaboration occurs between these agencies, considering that I think we have the Nigerian Film Corporation and some other agencies. So you were talking about Nollywood now, like this film corporation, this film thing you talked about developing Nollywood. I think that should be more domiciled there. So is there?
But it is. I mean, it is
collaboration
100%. I was just chatting with Ali who before I came on air. He's the DG for Nigerian Film Corporation.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're very busy. There's a lot of co-production agreements coming. The South Africans, the French. There's something coming with the British, the Canadians. The Brazilian one was just announced today. The Indian one is in view as well. But the wheels of government are not as fast as we might sometimes want it to be, because when it's bilateral, nation to nation, the Foreign Ministry is involved, Ministry of Justice is involved, so it has to go through those processes and come back out. So in the film sector, film development and education is led by NFC, with the NFI under them. Shoaibu Hussein, who's an incredibly talented multi-hyphenate person in terms of he's been a performing artist, he's been a dancer, he's been an actor, and he's also been a regulator. He's now the regulator for the Film and Video Censors Board, their classification. So he's there, he's doing his thing. I know he's doing some stuff with indigenous film as well, which I think is a big issue. So he's there. The National Gallery of Arts, which is visual arts. So Ahmed Shorangi, my friend and brother, is there, and he's doing a lot of things. The key thing, again, like for all sectors and all of us, is getting the resources to execute your plan. You've got CBAC, which is the FESTAC agency. I'm sure you'll soon be hearing about FESTAC at 50, 2027. She's coming. It's a big thing. She's also got the mandate for global cultural diplomacy, because it's the Center for Black Arts and Civilization. I'm happy to tell you that the entire FESTAC archive is complete. It is here in Nigeria. It needs to be digitized, but they've taken it from the original reel to DAT to VHS. It's gone through many phases, so maybe they're going to do the final one now with digitization to bring it up to spec. You've got NIHOT was on the tourism side, and NTDA. On the culture side, you got NICO, National Institute of Cultural Orientation. Otumba Ajiboye. Otumba has been very busy. We're collaborating. He's doing an encyclopedia that we're collaborating on. We're also collaborating with Origins with him because he's supposed to be more of an institute. He's also launched an Institute of Advanced Cultural Studies, which will be launching this year. So he's been busy as well. I'm trying to remember the National Theatre, where they have been held back by the fact that the Committee of Bankers who did the renovation had not yet returned the institution for management. But I think that is in the final stages now. So hopefully it can open in the next quarter or so. The institution, has been totally done. I've been on tour there, I've seen it. It's special. And it's going to be great when it opens because we know already, she had already programmed a lot of stuff to happen. And she would drive that in terms of programming. But I think the way they're going to work it most likely is that the bankers will stay involved in facility management, which is very important, right? Who have I left out? The National Troupe. The National Troupe is there. So Hajia is a very talented visual artist in her own right. And, they had really no funding at all since we came. But she's got a decent budget. But of course, again, we're waiting for those funds. But she has a decent budget and she has strong plans. And I think the National Troupe are going to be very, very exciting. It's funny, we have a little competition ongoing because I have a troupe in my council. My troupe, I do. My troupe is hot, man. We're looking for a name and a brand for them right now. No, I've got these, they really are special. I've got these 6 girls who are like an all-drum female ensemble, and they do this incredible performance. And everywhere we go, I'm like, put the girls on. Because we know that I'm looking for, if you guys have any events, listen, by the end of the year, when any events, I'm pitching right now. We have a budget for them. You have to, they're not coming for free. Because they're special and they do it proper. So that's exciting. Is there anybody I haven't mentioned? I think I've mentioned all of us. Yeah. I think so. If I didn't mention anybody, please, my apologies. But in essence, we have a group where we're all together. We all meet regularly with the minister, and we're trying to find ways to collaborate because part of this thing is also, you have to give everybody their own space to do their own thing. But, for example, the National Festival of Arts and Culture, which has been going since 1970, which was created to sort of as a healing balm for Nigeria after the end of the war, is in my council. I did it for the first time last year. I'm proud to say we had 27 states and the FCT. We did it in the Arts Village in Abuja. This year it's going to Enugu, which is great because I grew up there. But that's not why it's going there. We gave it to every state as an option to host it. Enugu came back and came on board. And we're excited because they're doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of stuff in terms of tourism and attractions and investing. They're turning their stadium, they're putting a dome over the stadium, but I think that stadium will not be ready by the time we come. But the guys who come for the National Sports Festival a bit later next year, then they're going to have the benefit of that. But there's a lot of things that excite me about that, because what you want to do and what you want to see is give people the opportunity to be seen. A lot of parts in this country, they don't feel connected, like they're not seen. If you're in Kafanchan, how do I see you? That's what Discover Nigeria is about as well, is to make sure that, because a lot of the talent, look, Burna Boy came out of Port Harcourt, P Square came out of Jos, MI came out of Jos, LD came out of Kaduna. It's not just Lagos. There's talent everywhere in this country, but the pathway is not clear to everybody. And sometimes, in terms of the gatekeeping side of things, if they don't know you, they don't know you. It's not easy. You just arrive in Lagos, oh boy, it's not easy. I don't have to say too much.
But what's that one thing now? That one policy that you think can drastically
the magic button.
Yeah, change Nigeria's creative economy.
I think to tell you the honest truth, I think we've already got the policy. It's implementation, and implementation is about resource backing. But I really think the first key thing was being on the table. This is 2025. In 2011, for the very first time at the Nigerian Economic Summit in Nigeria, I was able to bring this sector to the table. So we're fully on the table. By 2020, when we did the 2020 to 2050 work, I led the sector, and we was clear. We were one of the 8 sectors to drive the future of Nigeria. In 2025, I was happy when you said it, the second largest employer of capital, and the employer of labor, and one of the big emerging sectors in terms of generation of capital. That $100 billion by 2030 is not a pipe dream. PwC puts us at $25 billion in 2025. The only thing I tell PwC is, please, let me see this thing near me somehow, because in your report, it looks great. On ground, we want to see it on ground. But the truth of the matter is, I believe that with the kind of energy in Nigeria, the kind of talent in Nigeria, the population, the market size, and the truth of the matter for Nigeria, for me, it goes way beyond this sector, is that we have disconnected marketplaces. This is why the guys in our bar are importing leather, not getting their leather from Kano or Katsina. And these are some of the things we're trying to fix. How can we build that together? Because if you build that together, the domestic opportunity first, even before you leave Nigeria, is enormous, right? And once you begin to look at it like that, and we say, okay, I tell people all the time, this for me, you said one of the biggest things? I think one of the biggest things that we want to achieve, that I certainly want to achieve before I leave the office, is to productivize and merchandise the culture. In Nigeria today, you can't buy, or you find it very hard to go and buy an Enugu Rangers shirt or stationery store shirt or Unilag Athletic or anything for that matter. I mean, are you telling me that our 400 tertiary schools and universities don't have alumni? Of course they do. They have 30 million alumni. So that's your captive market right there. So if you went to the Suka, which means you're a lion,
Exactly.
Where's your lion t-shirt? Where's your lion hoodie? Where's your... But if they're not thinking like this, because they're just on the government payroll, they've never thought about generating, then you're not going to get it. So when you look at sport, when you look at music worldwide, so you look at Rihanna, right? Rihanna's not a billionaire from the music, she's a billionaire from Fenty makeup.
That's it, from Fenty, yeah.
Do you understand? It's the product and the ability to attract attention to that product that makes you the real money. So look at Nollywood, all the female superstars in Nollywood. Where are the hairlines? Where are the dolls?
That's true.
Where's the makeup? Where's the beauty products? This is the next phase of the business of entertainment. And that's not necessarily to be done by government, but we can encourage it. We can encourage the relationships, encourage the banks to look at it, the funders to look at it, and encourage the players that, hey, listen, I'll tell you straight, if I was 20 million followers, I look at it like, if I have 20 million followers and I'm not selling something, whose fault is it? Is it my fault or is it your fault? Do you understand? And I think you will see that. And don't forget, beyond the talent themselves, who are the biggest people in social? It's brands. Which brands? So Channels has 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
It's true.
What product do they sell? Do you understand? So it's not just about, it's a mindset
It's a mindset thing.
It's a mindset thing to understand that, okay, so when Real Madrid signed David Beckham back in the day, they signed him for 25 million. It was humongous money. People say, oh my God, how? Guess what? They signed him in August. By Christmas, they sold 3 million David Beckham shirts. They made 200 million. So Whether he scored
or
a
not.
goal, he didn't
Yeah,
score a
doesn't
goal.
matter.
It's not,
Everybody's
it's the
good.
business side.
Everybody's good. When Messi went to PSG,
Yeah.
I think before they signed him, they had about 7 million followers
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Just
The day they signed him, went to
Shut
25
up.
million.
Shut all the way up.
3 weeks later, it was 40 million.
Mm.
Messi didn't go to Saudi Arabia, right? The Saudis offered him $1 billion.
Yes. It's illegal
okay.
access.
What do the Americans do? It's okay, you know, the MLS pass on Apple TV. It's $39 a season for the season pass. Once they signed Messi, the sales of season pass went up 4,000% or something crazy. And Messi's getting a royalty check on everybody's subscription. So it's like you look at Burna Boy today. I told my people in my council when I first arrived, I said, Burna Boy's one night fee is bigger than our annual budget. It's a fact of life. I remember when Burna Boy couldn't get on stage at Rhythm Unplugged. But today, he's $1.4, $1.7 million a night. But nobody gave him the money. He built to a level where he can sell out stadiums in 15 countries. But yes, he has an agency behind him. There's management. There's all of these other things. But it's still him, right? So the key issue becomes we need to see the value in ourselves and understand that just as you got Burna Boy coming out of Port Harcourt, there's somebody else sitting right now watching this thing somewhere in some village in Nigeria that none of us know, but in 5 years' time, he'll tell you, yeah, I remember I was sitting there watching something. I did my house, and I say, if you be me. And there's nothing stopping anybody. For me, the biggest message to know is that Nigeria has unbelievable talent, has incredible locations. The culture is undeniable, from fashion to lifestyle. And just to remember what you said earlier, so it's not just ancient culture, it's Afrobeats culture, which is our pop culture. But it doesn't mean that Nok and Ife and Benin and Igbo Uku are not relevant. So to bring it all together and to understand that when you engage the Nigerian, you have to engage the ancient and the modern, and even the future. Because you know these Nigerian people, when you give us phone, you give us access, you cannot stop what anybody's going to do.
What more can I say? We have to thank the DG of National Council of Arts and Culture, Mr. Obi Asika. We chased him for about 2-3 months, and it's been very insightful and engaging. His council is hard at work. It's part of the larger Ministry of Culture and Creative Economy to take our culture to $100 billion.
Man, listen. I mean, I don't even like to put limits on it, but you know, the thing, when they say this thing, it's like as if we're going to be holding the money. Yeah. It's not us. It's Nigerians, and you know, the truth of the matter is, I think Nigerians are unstoppable. And when you all you have to do is give Nigerians the general direction. You don't even have to tell them do this one. They're just like, but they do it till they do. And the truth of the matter is, it's infectious. It's a glorious thing. And there's nothing that feels better as a Nigerian. You just walk into certain places, you hear your music, you see the vibration, and you're like, man, we're really here. And that to me is the biggest blessing, because a lot of times when you're involved in this thing from the early stages, you're no longer around when it's getting to, So from seeing Daddy Shoki and my guys in 1991, and then Laba and on the streets, and when you enter the shop and there's Obino and Tijo, I hold it, and I'm in the studio, and I'm in O2 Wizkid. I'm seeing Afro Nation, and I'm thinking, yes, because they never. Let me tell you something, and the Nigerians need to understand. Don't take these things for granted. There was no pathway for us. There was no access. Nobody gave it to us. We use technology, social media, and mobile platforms to disrupt the world, and we haven't stopped. We're still going. So the beautiful thing about it is, we can't be stopped. You know, as government, what we're trying to do is ride along. So yes, you lead, but you ride along. Because it's not like I'm going to call Wizkid or Davido or any of the Nollywood guys or Basketmouth or any, I'm not going to call them and say, you must do this. No. I say, I heard you're doing this. Can we come? No, because at the same time, you know that as government, you can be obstructive and you might change the vibration in the room. But if you can actually just enter and be one with the people who are creating, then you're doing your job, the way I look at it. Because what you want to do is create certainty and opportunity. And as much as people educate the investors and those that have the money of the opportunity. And if you're not investing in Nigeria, if you're not investing in this sector, what are you investing in? That's my own question. Why are you not investing? And I'm talking to the Nigerian banks, I'm talking to the Nigerian big capital, because many of them are not investing. They're just watching. They're just enjoying, drinking. No, come and invest. Let's build venues. We just did a groundbreaking for our venue in Abuja, 4,500 capacity. We want to build another 10. We need investors. Let's build venues. Let's build infrastructure. Let's build platforms. Because as you build these things, then you monetize in your own market. And the more you monetize in your own market, the more leverage you have. Because the truth of the matter is that if Maven Records, I say this without, I'm not involved in that business, but you need to bring Tega here and ask him and celebrate the fact they did a $160 million deal from startup. Who else has done it? Who else?
We have to get Tega Maven actually.
Yeah, we will get him. We will get him.
You have to get him.
Yeah, so-
You have to get him. You have to celebrate him. This is the biggest economic platform in the country. That's the biggest deal creative industry has done in Africa. And the point is, it's built from
Scratch.
scratch, right? It's built from scratch, from dreams. It's the genius of Don Jazzy, the resilience of Tega, and the team around them. That's it. And you know, nobody's told the story. Why? If you don't tell the story, how can you celebrate it?
Yeah. Now trust me, we can keep Mr. Asika in the studio all day. So, just play this back because I will. Trust me, I will. It's a fountain of information, and you know, it's coordination, implementation, strategy, innovation. It wants all of this to happen. And with the support of everybody, all of us in the ecosystem, it surely should be able to happen. I remain Francis Jackbo, and this is
Sherry Fadiru.
Until next time.